Alrighty,
Try.
what's going on, everyone?
How is it
Alrighty,
going?
what's going on, everyone? What's up, NXT? So yeah, as you guys may have noticed from me and Kyle talking about it nonstop, uh, this started as a joke, but then I was like,
Yeah.
hey, I've actually been wanting to do this, and you know a lot about horror movies, and you're the only person that's shown any kind of interest. Let's just fucking do it.
Right. I've always wanted to do this also, and just never really had anybody interested. And then you like brought it up as a joke. I was like, do you actually want to do that? Like,
Right? Yeah, pretty much. So obviously tonight, if you hadn't noticed from again us talking about it or the title, we are talking about Evil Dead 2, which is my personal favorite horror film. Borderline favorite movie of all time, but there's other genres in there that kind of dethrone it a little bit. Um, but yeah, I'm subject. This is Kyrick or Kyle, of course. Just call him
mhm.
dumbass. It's fine.
Yeah, that works.
um, has anybody in chat actually seen this movie?
Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, NXT. We've been really excited about this. Okay,
I've been
NXT.
posting
Oh,
about it like every day.
Jake, you've seen. Okay, cool, cool. So obviously, this is a sequel to the original movie Evil Dead, which was it was the great podcast starting. These were obviously '80s horror movies. The original came out in '81, and do I have that date right? Yeah, the original came out in 1981. Google, for some reason, lists Evil Dead 2 under Evil Dead 1. Fuck you, Google. Um,
Yeah, that
and
confused me the first time too. I was like, what am I looking at?
honestly, the coolest thing to me about these movies is at least the first one. It's just a bunch of friends from high school making a movie. They had no budget. They had no like real crew. They about killed themselves to make this movie, and it shows.
Literally.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I was watching a thing about it, and they still some of them are still have like post traumatic stress disorder from it. Like one of the actresses freaked out over contact lenses because of the hell she went through to wear those white contact lenses to make the Deadites.
Oof.
And I thought that was really funny, but also really sad. But yeah, original movie's budget was like 350 to 400,000, somewhere around there. And yeah, they did not have any safety precautions. They didn't follow the rules of for the device, the like effects and stuff that they were using, like those contacts. You're only supposed to wear them like 15 minutes at a time and use them maybe 5 times a day. They'd wear them hours at a time, and obviously using them more than 4 or 5 times a day, and couldn't see shit out of them. So yeah, that's fun. Now, I'm assuming Kyle, you've seen the original, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Way too many times.
It's amazing that we have a franchise at all based on that first movie, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but
Mhm.
that movie is a very self-contained. Like Ash clearly dies at the end,
Oh yeah, definitely gets murdered right at the end.
and that's a
What's
very
crazy to me also is that. Sorry, I was gonna say it's crazy to me you're saying that Evil Dead 1 didn't really have much of like, or how it's crazy it became such a franchise. It's like it was kind of failing, and then who was it? Not Steven Spielberg, Stephen King, I think it was, literally talked about how much he loved it and how it was just a classic to him. And then all of a sudden, this huge wave of people loving it came out of nowhere, which like almost pushed it to become what it is today.
exactly. He did an interview for some magazine, I can't remember at the time, but he called it like the best horror movie of the
Yeah.
year, and that really drew
Mm-hmm.
public attention. But I mean, even then, um, to be honest, the only reason that this is a franchise is because Sam Raimi failed elsewhere. um, he didn't want to do another horror movie. Yeah, it was
Mm-hmm.
Stephen King. He endorsed the
Yeah.
first movie, and a little later we'll also get into how he helped to become a thing. But Sam
Yeah.
Raimi's next movie was a movie called Prime Wave, which was notoriously
Oof.
hard to film. The
Mm-hmm.
studio had all these mandates; they wouldn't let him use Bruce Campbell. And if anybody knows anything about Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell's in almost all of his movies somewhere.
Well, didn't they grow up together? Like they literally were like friends growing up?
Well, and that's the thing about that first movie is all of them were friends. Sam, Bruce, Ted, and I don't remember the other actors' names because, let's be honest, none of them went on to do much.
No, I actually tried to like look them up and nothing else. They literally were just in that movie.
Yeah. And I wonder if that's part of because of just how rough that shoot was.
Probably.
Well, and the girl that played Cheryl, who's the first one to get possessed, she does come back for the show. But Haley's here to make fun of Kyle.
Thanks,
Hi, Haley.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm here to ruin your podcast. Okay, thanks.
And they actually grew up in Michigan, which is right above me. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm in Indiana. Michigan's right north of us. And they shot a movie called Evil in the Woods or The Woods, something like that, to raise money for that movie. Because Evil Dead 1 didn't really have a backer. They went out and made a movie and raised it to make the movie they really wanted. Come on, Haley. And they raised enough money barely to make a film, which, as we mentioned, had all kinds of production issues. But Sam Raimi didn't want to do a sequel, but Crime Wave was such a disaster, both behind the scenes and in the box office, like it flopped, that he was kind of backed into a corner. And one of the producers said, we'll make it more comedic, because Sam Raimi's a comedy guy. He's a big Three Stooges fan. He's a big Harry Hausenheimer. The guy that did like the original Class of the Titans and those cheesy, claymation 20s and 30s movies. And Army of Darkness, the third movie, and that is a love letter to those movies. Harry Hausen, I believe, is his name.
Yeah, Harryhausen.
So they started writing a script, and there is a short film that one of the behind the producers or co-writers made about the little hamburger helper glove turning evil and attacking people, and that's the entire inspiration for the scene where Ash's hand turns on him.
Yeah, and they actually took a lot of the comedy and stuff from the Three Stooges, like the style of, like you see Bruce Campbell like beating himself up and stuff like that multiple times. They took a lot of that just from Sam Raimi's love of the Three Stooges.
Yeah,
like very similar like shooting styles and sound effects and stuff like that.
NXT is asked, didn't Evil Dead 2 have so many issues like it took a long time to make it? Actually, no. Evil Dead 1 had far more issues than Evil Dead 2 because Evil Dead 2A had an actual budget and like real special effects guys working on it. No offense to that first movie. I love that first movie for what it is. The special effects kind of suck. Like, let's be real.
It was horrible.
There's a scene where someone gets her eyes poked out and you can tell it's just red paint.
Yeah.
Oh, that was another thing about that first movie is the cabin that they're in had no electricity, no heat, no water. Like, they had to bring that stuff themselves, and it was in the middle of winter.
Literally a cabin in the woods.
Yeah, pretty much. But Evil Dead 2, no, it did not have as a troubled production. You can tell the budget increased right away, like right off. And it does remake the first movie, so I will never say that first movie is unnecessary. But if you're looking to get a feel for what the franchise became, start with 2.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
He always keeps that humor going from then on.
It's almost a totally just different franchise after Evil Dead 1. Because they literally had they lost all rights to every piece of film from Evil Dead 1 because it was a different production company. So they literally could not get anything from it. And that's why they essentially had to reshoot it and turn it into Evil Dead 2. But they kept it as Evil Dead 2 because they wanted to keep the following that Evil Dead 1 had because of Stephen King.
Yeah. And obviously like you said, they wanted to bank on it because Sam Raimi was backed into a corner. He was desperate.
Very desperate. Especially after that last movie he made.
Yeah, like if anybody here besides maybe Kyle has heard of Crime Wave, kudos to you, because I don't think that movie even like exists anymore.
I don't think you could find it. Honestly, I'm gonna look it up to see if you can stream it somewhere. I don't think you can.
Yeah.
No, it's on YouTube. That's it.
Well, and YouTube is a great way to find some of those movies. Like I was telling Kyle, a little off topic here, but I watched this movie Exetro. I don't know how the fuck you're really supposed to say it, which is like out of print and super expensive, free on YouTube.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know how legal it is, but I'll take free over.
Well, you found it on what? You found it somewhere, but it was like $80-some for the copy.
Amazon, yep.
Yeah, that's insane.
Well, and from what I saw, the opening of Evil Dead 2, which we mentioned is basically a soft reboot, was supposed to have all of them come back, but due to budget reasons, they trimmed off the fat and it's like it's just Ash and Linda.
Yeah.
Which Linda might be the most recast horror character. She's played by a different actress in all three.
I know, right? I love that they kept the character, but not the actress. I'm sure there's reasons for it, but I just love that they kept the character name.
Yeah, and she's basically different in like every movie. They shot most of the movie in North Carolina, which is I think where the first movie was shot as well, but obviously under better conditions.
Not in winter, not shitty place.
Well, okay, I say better conditions, but still bad conditions, just the opposite, because instead of in winter, they shot it in like the dead of middle of summer. And I couldn't find this to verify, but I remember talking about a lot of the effects were like gelatin, like his fake hand, and they'd have to get improvised to keep it from just fucking melting all over the place.
Honestly, I did not know that. That's hilarious.
NXT, I don't know if you know this, but there's an Easter egg in Evil Dead 2 in the work shed. If you look closely, Freddy Krueger's glove is in it. Come on, NXT, come on. It's us. No.
Yeah, you don't think we know that?
That is
actually because. Sorry, go ahead. You do it.
I think you were just about to say what I was.
Exactly. Yep.
But there was a long-running gag between Sam Raimi and Wes Craven. If you watch the original Evil Dead, there is a ripped poster of The Hills Have Eyes. Movie names are suddenly escaping me. The Hills Have Eyes in it. And so in Nightmare on Elm Street, the classic, if you haven't seen it, what are you doing? Watch it. There is a scene where Nancy, played by Heather, mix those up, is falling asleep to the original Evil Dead. Which I call bullshit on, by the way, because in the 80s, you are not going to fall asleep to watching Evil Dead. Like, sorry, but you're not.
God, especially the pencil through the Achilles tendon fucking moment. Oh,
that still makes me cringe.
Yeah, I can fall asleep to a lot of horror, but that moment, oh, Jesus. Ugh. Just her digging it around. Oh, jeez.
So in response to that, they did the Freddy Krueger glove, which... if I remember correctly, and again, it's been a minute, there's a little attention to detail because in the show Ash vs. Evil Dead, if you haven't seen it, guys, get used to me being tongue-tied. I work not 8 hours a day on the phone. I can barely speak English on the phone there, let alone doing this little podcast for fun.
Seriously.
But the glove is still there in the show to make it feel more like the original cabin, because that cabin burned down like years ago.
Yeah. It's crazy too is that that is the glove from, I think, was it the third Nightmare on Elm Street? Because one of the people that was working on that movie was also working on the Evil Dead 2. So they say that he literally borrowed it from that set for a couple of days, brought it on the set for Evil Dead 2 so that they could film that scene. So it was the literal glove from Freddy Krueger.
Let's see.
Which I think is fucking awesome.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is 87. Evil Dead 2
maybe it was 2.
Okay, so they're same year, so it might have been that one.
Yeah.
But it my guess is it's from 2 because Greg Nicotero works on special effects on this one. He also did 2 and 3. But my guess is if they came out the same year, it was probably from the set of 2, because I doubt he would have been allowed to take that prop off the set.
Yeah, as they're filming it, it probably would not have been allowed.
Yeah.
Well, I broke it and lost it. Sorry, guys. We're gonna have to stop filming.
Right. I read a while ago that the producers actually insist on using different colors of blood to avoid an X rating on Evil Dead 2. They still got an X rating. So I have heard bits of that. I have heard about the different color of blood to help avoid an X rating. Because to be completely honest, the biggest enemy to 80s horror was the MPAA. I don't know what their deal is with certain movies, but whatever. That's a whole different conversation. But they did use the multicolored blood, like there's black blood, green blood, red blood, etc., to help avoid the X rating, because that's basically death for a movie.
Yeah, especially back then, that was immediate death for a movie, especially something that doesn't have a gigantic following.
Yeah, and I don't know about them still getting an X rating, but I do know there's other scenes cut, like the first guy that gets possessed, the blonde guy that I can't even remember his name because he's not really a character. His original death scene had Ash cut like the top, like half of his head off, and like you're gonna see this tiny brain in there and everything. He was gonna keep moving until Ash chopped him into pieces. Because the original lore is the only way to stop the Deadites permanently is dismember them like piece by piece. Which we kind of done away with by now. Like they still try to reference it, but it's like, yeah, we did that. Don't think about it.
Like in the books, in the TV series and stuff, they totally just kind of moved on. They're like, yeah, we're not going to do that every single person that pops up. We're not going to cut them into pieces every single time.
Yeah, because I mean, they only did that for that first movie because they were trying to be shocking and horrifying.
Yeah.
Also, there were so many deleted
spoke
scenes.
about it in the second one, though, because in the very beginning of the second one, you hear the dad on the recording talking about how he just couldn't bring himself to chop up his own wife, so he just buried her in the basement and locked it up. So it's like they reference it, but then the rest of the movie doesn't really do it. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't go any farther.
NXT. I'm sure there were. I mean, I can't think of a single movie that doesn't have deleted scenes. Or trimmed down scenes. Because I mean, even in the final product, when he starts killing the blonde guy, like it just cuts to shadowing, but you can still see Ash like hacking him up with the axe. But I mean, obviously, and as many of you know who have seen this movie, this became like a cultural phenomenon. Everybody was talking about Evil Dead 2.
It's still kind of crazy to me that Evil Dead 1 had such a following overseas. They were saying, was it the Italian market or something like that, was gigantic with the first Evil Dead. And that's also what kind of helped push it into them being able to get funding for Evil Dead 2. Which is still crazy to me.
One of the main producers that was responsible for this happening, because they were the first ones to make a deal, because studios were kind of hemming and hawing and like, yeah, maybe we'll do it, maybe we won't. But like Sam Raimi was like, I want to do this. I want to make this movie now. After he'd been talked into it, of course.
Yeah.
I'm going to butcher this.
Forced into it.
Yeah. Dino De Laurentiis. Maybe I didn't butcher it. That's why he was interested, because he mainly dealt with international markets, and the movie had been a smash hit there. So he helped. He's one of the primary reasons that movie got the funding it did.
That is Stephen King.
Well, and Stephen King is the one who brought attention to the project to Dino, because Stephen King was currently directing Maximum Overdrive, which I still need to see because I've heard it's fucking insane.
Oh, it's terribly amazing. I can say that for sure.
That's what I've heard. But one of the people involved with that movie knew Sam Raimi, and they mentioned to King, like, hey, I've heard Sam Raimi wants to do Evil Dead 2, blah, 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 blah. King knew Laurentiis, and it's like, hey, you know, maybe you want to get this made.
It was quick too, wasn't it? I think I remember reading that essentially that they like sat down and talked about it, and it was like 20 minutes in, they're talking about it. He's like, cool, have it. Like, here's the funding. I mean, he didn't give him all of it. I think they gave him 3.6 million out of 4 is what they wanted. But still was like, here, have it. This sounds great.
Yeah, from the way Bruce Campbell talked about it, because I sent you that documentary about the making of it, and I didn't get to finish it because it's like an hour and a half, and I didn't find it until like an hour before this thing started. 15 minutes, and they were done.
Yeah.
And they were so relieved because like they could not get studios to agree. I read that the German titles for Evil Dead are translated as Dance of the Devils. I haven't really looked into the international release. I'm not a big foreign horror guy.
I love me some foreign horror.
It's one of those
Koreans, man, they kill it.
I did like Train to Busan. I probably butchered that.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect.
The only international filmmaker I'm really familiar with is Lucio Fulci, because and Dario Argento, because they are very involved in the zombie genre with like they're the Italian Romero almost.
Yeah.
Also,
they were later though, right? They were like 90s.
No,
or 2000s.
No, Argento was George Romero's like collaborator overseas.
Oh damn! Okay, I didn't know that.
He actually did like the European cut of Dawn of the Dead, which I have on DVD.
Oh, okay.
The big deluxe edition they released has all 4 cuts.
Of course you do.
And basically it's that same movie, but he cut out all like the humor and just made it a serious horror movie. I haven't watched that cut yet, but I'd be interested to see how that plays, because I love the humor in that movie. What are y'all's opinions?
All horror should be cut with a little bit of humor.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And I think that's what I love about Evil Dead 2 is it blends the horror and the comedy perfectly. And that's in large part to Sam Raimi. He knows when to make it horror and when to make it funny.
Yeah, it wasn't too over the top. Like, you have your funny moments, and then you have your, like, oh my god, did we just see him chop off his own hand and he's covered in blood? Like,
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, the hand cutting scene is my favorite. And then NXT, I'll get to your question in just a second. But the hand cutting scene, the whole hand possession scene is my favorite scene in the movie, because it is very representation of what that movie is. Because I'm sorry, but watching him beat the shit out of himself, which was all done by Campbell, by the way, that's not a stunt guy.
He did 95% of his own stunts. It's insane.
It is hilarious. But then it grows serious because he's like stabbing his hand and he's got his chainsaw, and you're like, the fuck is he about to do?
Just screaming, covered in blood. It's awesome.
So NXT asks, what are y'all's opinion on the Leprechaun series? I am a pretty big fan of the Leprechaun movies. I binged them all a couple weeks ago. I hadn't seen a lot of the sequels, but I've always loved that first movie. Warwick Davis, of course, carries that franchise, as do most. The actor carries slasher franchises for the most part. The only one I didn't care for was In Space. I don't know why, but that one just didn't do it for me.
I can't do the Leprechaun series. I just can't. I mean, like, they gave us essentially Jennifer Aniston and pushed her career, so I could be happy about that. But otherwise, it's just too goofy to me. I can't take it seriously. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, you
have some good kills in it, though. I can definitely give it that.
Yeah, and I mean,
you say I'm not supposed to take it seriously?
Well, no, it's a killer leprechaun. Like, the premise itself isn't meant to be taken seriously.
Yes, that's true. I mean, doesn't he have a lightsaber in the space one?
Yes. I mean,
it's so ridiculous.
WWE tried to make it a serious horror movie, and it was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Yeah. Maybe I just went into it too seriously. I was expecting some kind of like brutal horror movie, and it was just too much comedy for me or something. I might have to give them a rewatch.
Yeah, and the other thing that makes this podcast interesting is I like the cheesy schlock. One of my favorite movies is Jason X. That's all you really need to know. I love that movie. It's dumb. Mr. Kyle here is like, oh no, give me the Hereditary and the Midsummer and blah blah blah.
I want to be like emotionally pulled into a movie and just watch people get like massacred. Like I love the gore, the blood, and everything. Not that the cheesy ones don't have that, but the cheesy ones almost sometimes ruin it for me.
Yeah, NXT. I love dumb movies. Now I do like the occasional. Like I really liked Hereditary. I loved The Witch. I loved The Lighthouse.
Oh, Lighthouse was nuts.
Midsummer was one of the most boring movies I've ever seen. Sorry, but it was.
You just don't like those emotional, intense movies. Like you have to be like sucked into it and just really focus on it. It's not about like the blood, the gore, like the the comedic relief or anything like that. It's just about how emotional and intense it is for that actress.
Yeah, and there's one thing
where we will always disagree.
Is I have a hard time getting so enwrapped in a movie that like I give a shit when anyone dies in a movie. Even in like Hereditary, which I was kind of involved in, I didn't give a shit when that little girl died. It was shocking, but like I didn't care. Because
I think that just means you're a psychopath.
Maybe.
You're like, I don't care that she died. I don't give a fuck.
You don't even know what little girl I'm talking about.
To have.
Hey, you don't even know what little girl I'm talking about.
There's a few little girls in that. You don't know.
Yeah. Might be an army of little girls.
Okay, now I don't. I'll never watch that movie again. Children scare me more than anything.
Oh, man. What scares me the most is, this is weirdly specific, but like creatures with rows and rows of teeth. Like, in Resident Evil 2, have you seen the true ending to that?
Wait, sorry, say that again?
Have you seen the like true ending to Resident Evil 2 remake?
No.
Have you not done an A and B scenario?
Oh, I don't know why you said that. I was thinking you were talking about a movie, and I was like, I don't even know what movie you're talking about. Resident Evil 2? Yeah. Yes, okay, yes, I did do that.
You know how he's just like flesh with rows and rows of teeth?
Yeah.
Shit like that, I hate it. I hate it so much. I don't know why.
Put your teeth on edge or whatever.
Yeah. Have y'all seen The Platform on Netflix? It's a very gory type of horror movie. I've not, but I've heard of it. It's on my radar.
The Platform? I honestly haven't even heard of that.
I think it's new.
The Platform. Yeah, it came out last year.
Oh, was it last year, Art?
Yeah, on Netflix.
Huh. Interesting. Is that another one of those like foreign zombie movies, like Train to Busan?
Trying to look it up. What is this? No, don't go to Netflix. Chill.
It was
Spanish?
originally not in English, but they made it in English.
Yeah, it's a Spanish science fiction horror film.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I've never even heard of that. I'll give that a watch. Thank you. Next. I'll give that a check.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
I also do love foreign films. I think there's a few places that just do it better than us. Like I personally think that like Train to Busan and stuff, like Korea just does zombies better than most do. Like the way that they make their bodies move, like the actors themselves, and like the way that they bring them to life, I think they just do such an amazing job. They're not just the slow moving, arm reaching, drooling blood at the mouth kind of zombies. It's like this violent, scary, like just the movements themselves put you on edge kind of thing. At least me personally.
Right. Well, and I think with zombies, a lot of people spend so much time trying to ape Romero. They don't understand why Romero was so loved. Yeah. It wasn't that the zombies were scary. It's what he was saying with the zombies.
Yeah, the story behind the zombies, not the zombies themselves.
Yeah, like unintentional or intentional, he always had a social commentary. He always had something to say. And everyone else that has tried to ape Romero has had nothing to say, but oh look, here's these zombies that you loved. You love these, right?
Yeah, right.
But have you ever played any of the Evil Dead games?
No, I've never played any. I didn't know they had any Evil Dead games.
Yeah, back in the PS1 and PS2, there was a few. The one that I had is an alternate ending to Resident Evil. God damn it, to Evil Dead 2, where instead of getting sucked back in time, which was apparently the original pitch for the movie, but they were like, no, wait, let's just do the first movie again, but different. He is found in the cabin with all the hacked up body pieces and the chainsaw. Yes, Haley, my mind is on RE2. It's always on RE2. But and he's put in an insane asylum because everybody thinks he's crazy, and then Deadites attack, and so it's like, what if? And Ted Raimi, who played Henrietta and is the director's brother, voices this little like short Deadite that you use as a puzzle solver, and like you could kick him and shit. It was hilarious.
That's awesome.
And all of them had actually Bruce Campbell voice Ash.
That's pretty cool. It's so crazy to me that they essentially wrote Army of Darkness first before Evil Dead 2. Yeah. And then because they weren't able to get any footage or anything from the first one and couldn't really technically connect the two because there were two different companies, they had to rewrite it and essentially redo the whole movie. Like, that's just crazy. And then come out with what they wanted, because they wanted him to go into the portal and whatnot and do the whole thing he did in Army of Darkness in the first place, but then had to essentially rewrite the script completely and re-release it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it was a few things. One, I don't think the technology was there to do the period piece that he wanted to. Because, I mean, even in 93, Army of Darkness looks kind of rough in places.
Oh, very rough.
Well, and some of that is intentional because they're throwing back to the classic, like...
Yeah. I mean, shit, look at Evil Dead 2 at the end when he has to shoot the, was it the flying Deadite? And it's the crappiest CGI I've, like, ever seen. It's so bad.
Well, I don't think that's CGI. I think that's either stop motion.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, because I don't think we really had a lot of CGI in the 80s. And that's, like, mid-80s. And stop motion, I love stop motion. It has its own personality, but you can always tell it's not real.
Yeah, it doesn't fit.
And I also think that if we had done Army of Darkness first, it would have been bad, because not only do you have to explain why Ash is still alive after 1, then you have to get him to the past, then you tell your story. You do Evil Dead 2, you basically say, well, forget that ending. You do another story with him, then you get to your time travel.
Yeah.
There's a movie on Hulu I think y'all would like. It's not a horror movie per se, but it's a gory type of movie. It's called Mom and Dad. It's about it's about a virus that goes around and makes parents kill their kids. It says it's horror, but it's not scary.
Yeah, actually, I think I watched that a long time ago, but I honestly was
I've seen it, and honestly, I kind of hated it. It had me up until the end, and the ending just pissed me off so much it ruined the entire movie.
Agreed. They had some pretty like cool kills, but yeah, I think overall I was like, God damn it.
It's just such a non-ending.
Yeah. It just kind of ends.
Yeah. No resolution. I don't even need to know where the virus comes from. The best virus movies never explain where it comes from. Like, even right? Romero has like a throwaway line about satellites that came from space. It doesn't matter. It's not what the story's about. But I need an ending.
That's why I really love the Romeros, especially like Dawn of the Dead, even the remake itself. It doesn't sit there and try to give you this, where did the zombies come from, where it happened, and like go into this huge story about a virus. It just jumps into it, and you're in the attack. Like, people are getting attacked left and right, especially the remake. I think the beginning did an amazing job of like the actors pretty much waking up, and they're just in the middle of the apocalypse all of a sudden. Like, they don't take the time to sit there and try to like explain things to you. You're just like that's exactly how it would happen in real life to me, is that you would just wake up and you're in the fucking middle of it. and you just have to figure out how to survive, and that's what they focus on.
All right, NXT. Yeah, and one thing I do like about the remake, because I do like the remake quite a bit. Obviously, I don't know why we still need to say this in 2020, but it's not as good as the original. No shit.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that drives me nuts, because even to this day, I'll see people be like, well, which do you prefer, the original or the remake? I like both. Obviously, the original's better. Why is this still a question?
Always better.
Although there's a weird argument to be made with Night of the Living Dead, but that's not so much a which is better, it's just which is easier to watch.
There are like 5 or 6 remakes of Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, but the only one you need to watch besides the original is the 1991, which we might do an episode on because that's a great movie. Directed by Tom Savini. But I like in the remake of Dawn of the Dead is there's these clues, like she works at a hospital, people are getting sick, and they're treating a bite victim, but you don't really know what's going on until the character knows.
Yeah. I love in movies when you essentially, as the viewer, know as much as the main character does. Like, they're not sitting there being like, like, you'll have movies where you know exactly what the protagonist, like what the bad guy's doing, and you know what the main person's doing, and you can kind of sit there and be like, oh God, when are they going to meet? I love when all you know is the information is what the main character does, and you're going into this movie essentially blind, and that, to me, that just makes things scarier, because you don't know what's coming next. You're not like, oh, like, Michael's around the corner behind this house, so clearly she's going to walk behind that house, they're going to get attacked, sometimes it's better when they keep information from you.
Well, and I think that also depends on the movie and the genre. Like with a slasher, in the first movie, yeah. But what I kind of like about slashers is the slasher villain kind of becomes the protagonist. Because you don't give a shit about any of the teens by like the 5th movie. Like, you're just there for Jason or Michael or Pinhead or whoever.
Yeah, you're there to see him just murder people. That's where I'm at now, especially with like the Rob Zombie remakes of Halloween. It's like, I'm just here for Michael. I just want to see him.
Yeah, and that actually might be an interesting episode. It's like Halloween versus Halloween.
Yeah, seriously, the originals versus the remakes.
Because I know a lot of people hate that Rob Zombie one, but like, I don't know. I think it's all right. You can tell
personally, it's one of my favorites. I'd put the original there first, though.
Yeah, you can tell where the studio mandated, like, at a certain point, you just have to remake Halloween. You do whatever the fuck you want with the first half, but the last half has to be a shot-for-shot remake of the original. That's what people are there to see. But, yeah.
Yeah.
And even, like, the Evil Dead remake, what I like about that is Sam Raimi was just like, listen, just take the property, do what you want with it, and it's one of the most brutal movies I think I've ever seen.
Stop. Sorry, my dog's... What'd you say?
I'm saying that's one thing I like about the Evil Dead remake is it's not really a remake. It's just Sam Raimi produced a movie, said, listen, take my idea and just do whatever the fuck you want with it.
It's almost like a totally different... Like, it has obviously the same basis behind it, but it's more violent. It's just brutal. Like, it's like... I'm glad that they essentially remade it into a new age Evil Dead. Because now I can watch it, and it's a different movie to me. It's not just part of the franchise. It's its own movie.
Well, and one of the ideas originally was that wasn't going to be a remake. It was supposed to be like a side movie. And then the girl from that, who is Jane Levy, I'm a big fan of her and most stuff I've seen, was going to actually team up with Ash. That's why he's in that post-credit scene. But then they went with the TV show instead. Which I'm fine with, because that TV show is wonderful.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Honestly, I hadn't watched it until you said to check it out, and then I picked it up, and I pretty much just sat there and binged the whole thing in a couple of days. It was really good.
Oh, well, and it helps that it's 30-minute episodes, because those binge so much better than hour-long episodes.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's be honest, we would all marry Bruce Campbell.
Well, obviously.
I mean, I'd be friends with him, but I don't know if I can marry him. Like,
Young Bruce Campbell was a freaking hottie. The dude was... They have photos of him offset, and the dude is, like, model-worthy.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the things... And That's the other thing that really propelled this franchise forward is Bruce Campbell's comedy and physical acting.
Yeah. It's so crazy to me that, especially in Evil Dead 2, he did like they had a oh crap, what's the name? Like a stunt man for him, and pretty much the guy just sat on set the whole time. Like he essentially was just there for moments for Bruce Campbell to be like, yeah, this one might be a little too dangerous for me to do this time, you know? Like we were talking about the scene where he's beating himself up, and he literally like flips himself and everything. They said they saw shot that scene. I think it was like 14 times or something, and he did the entire thing himself, and he got more into it as time went on. Like it's almost like he enjoyed doing that stuff. Like he's just a great actor all around.
Well, and the only thing that Bruce Campbell admitted that he didn't do was the scene where Ash is thrown down in the cellar and he like bumps down the stairway.
Yeah, he said throwing himself head first was going to be a little much.
And that's another thing that they talk about in that documentary is Sam Raimi is a very demanding but very fair director. Mm-hmm. He will do multiple reshoots if he doesn't feel like it's right, but he's not Kubrick, who will make you do the same shot 100 times just because.
Yeah, just to get multiple shots of it.
He knows what he wants. He knows how to get it, but he's not going to torture. Well, he'll torture Bruce Campbell because that's his buddy, and that's what buddies do. But he's not going to torture his actors for the most part.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, they almost killed. What's his name? He's kind of like the hillbilly guy in Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, Jake in the movie.
Yeah, he said he actually had a moment where he essentially almost died when he was getting pulled into the basement because it's the moment where he's getting pulled in and they just rush blood out of the actual basement. And essentially they had, what was it? It was like some crazy, like several gallons of blood that are supposed to pour out in just like a few seconds. And the first time the hose that was supposed to pour it out wasn't aimed correctly. So he's sitting there on like a trapeze thing upside down, and the hose hits the top of the roof and then just shoots down. So he just has these gallons and gallons of fake blood pretty much being pushed through his nose and mouth, and said he literally almost drowned because of it. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, so just to fill in what you said, for anyone who is not aware of the scene, there's a scene later on where one of the characters named Jake, he's kind of this hillbilly-ish type. He gets dragged down into the fruit cellar where the main antagonist of the film is, and blood is supposed to splurt out of the cellar and hit the actress.
Mm-hmm. As she's trying to pull him back out.
Yeah. 55 gallons in 3 seconds is what was supposed to come
That's
out.
what it was, yeah.
But due to a hose malfunction, it bounced off of the cellar door and back into his face. So he got all 55 gallons of that right in his face.
While he's hung upside down.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus.
Well, and that scene where they first meet Ash and like he's beating the shit out of him, that double-handed hit, that's an actual hit because he misjudged the space between them and actually hit Bruce in the mouth.
Oh, jeez. Bruce just seems like a guy that can take a hit, though.
I mean, back in the day, yeah. Burn Notice, I have seen a little bit of it because I knew Bruce Campbell was in it, and I'm a big Bruce Campbell fan, obviously. It's all right. I need to finish it, but it was all right.
I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed Bruce Campbell in it. I think he was like almost like the comedic relief. Like he was actually like really funny in it, and they did a lot of little like what's it called, like homages or whatever. Homages. I can't say the right word. To like Evil Dead and stuff. They kind of like hinted at it. Like there are moments where he like picked up a shotgun or something, or picked up a chainsaw and was like, well, I'm glad I got both hands to carry this around, kind of thing. Like just like little things on it I thought were hilarious.
Yeah. I'm looking this up to make sure it's the guy I'm thinking of. But one of the other special effects guys was Robert Kurtzman, who actually directed a movie we just watched, which was Wishmaster.
Oh crap! He did Wishmaster?
Yeah, he. In fact, one of the things that impressed me most when I was doing some research for this show is the level of talent they had in the special effects. Because not only do you have Greg Nicotero, who did The Walking Dead, multiple Nightmare on Elm Street films.
He's a god. I love his style.
He's my second favorite effects guy. Like Tom Savini will always be number one.
Hmm.
It's Tom fucking Savini.
Yeah, I mean, he's worked on most of the horror
He,
films we love.
yeah, like he is the effects guy. But
Yeah.
Robert Kurtzman, just to list some of the films that he did makeup effects for: Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Predator, Evil Dead 2, Halloween 5, Nightmare 5, Bride of Reanimator, which was not bad. Let's see, is there anything else big? He came back for Army of Darkness. He did some of the effects on Jason Goes to Hell, New Nightmare, From Dusk Till Dawn, which actually he co-wrote, and that's my favorite vampire film. So good.
He co-wrote From Dusk Till Dawn with what's his name? His name's escaping me right
no,
now.
excuse me, co-producer, and he worked on the story.
Oh, okay. That's crazy. That is a great movie.
Yeah, and he
Plus,
came back.
You can't
for
get
both
past Salma
sequels.
Hayek.
Yeah, and I mean Tom Savini's in it, Salma Hayek,
Yeah.
George Clooney of all people.
Yeah, just a great movie. And then what's his name who like directed it?
Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
But you're probably thinking of the brother, which is Quentin Tarantino.
I am thinking of Quentin Tarantino, especially his creepy foot fetish shit that he has in that movie.
Oh, NXT. Don't be talking about the Reanimator movies like that.
Bro, those are classics.
Well,
those started
the first
so
two
much.
are, but the third one is.
I haven't seen the third one. I've seen, probably because I've heard so many people shit on it, but the original is just a freaking classic.
The third one is I think it's the first straight to DVD one, and he's in prison, and everything looks like it costs $2.
Oh, jeez.
This guy was also the special effects supervisor on Scream.
Oh, the original?
Yeah, and I mean, even in more modern movies, Spy Kids, Bubba Hotep, Cabin Fever.
Spy Kids. Oh my gosh.
I used to love that movie. I'm sure it doesn't hold.
Oh, dude, when I was a kid, I was obsessed. I think I even told you this, that I think when we watched Repo, I was obsessed with Alexa Vega when I was a kid because we were like around the same age when that came out, and I was like, "Oh my god," which is fucking weird. I remember religiously watching those Spy Kids movies.
Yeah,
especially like having a pill. I think it was a pill. You microwave it, and a full McDonald's meal came out of it.
It was the little like red square, and you put it in this microwave, and a full And I know everybody preferred
full,
the second
Big Mac
one,
meal.
But I always preferred the first one because it had those gadgets, and I've always loved like weird gadgets and shit.
Same here.
That's also Robert Rodriguez.
That's crazy. I didn't
underrated filmmaker, honestly.
He's like he's bounced around and did a lot of random things.
Yeah, I mean, Spy Kids 3 is kind of his fault, so you know. Yeah, I mean, Alexa Vega. I'm surprised she didn't have more of a career because those movies were huge.
Maybe she chose just to not do it herself, especially with the Spy Kids movies, and then her and Repo and her voice and stuff like that. Like, I feel like she could have gone far. I'm not really sure what happened. I remember her being in some like weird teen movie about a sleepover and stuff, and people hated it, and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe she dug her own hole.
Yeah, and Rodriguez also did the Sin City movie, which is fantastic.
I do love Sin City.
Oh, he did all the Spy Kids. Ugh, poor bastard. I mean, like 3 is.
Oh, that poor bastard.
3 is okay. Like, it's goofy, but I didn't bother with 4. I was just like, it's been like 8 years. Nobody cares.
Didn't they go like virtual or something? And like
that's the third one.
Like some weird shit go on.
Well, that was when that 3D
got
kick,
really bad.
That's when that 3D kick craze started again, so everything had to be 3D.
Oh god, that ruined so many movies.
It's like, stop it. It wasn't good in the 80s, it's not good now.
Right. Stop forcing this.
This is the most important question I've asked. How do you feel about the It movies? Not the old movies, the new ones. I love the first one. It's one of my favorite modern horror films. I'm mixed on the second one just because I think they don't handle the cosmic stuff as well as they could have. But I like it well enough.
I think they almost went too comedic with the second one. I think that like because I'm guessing since you're asking this, you've seen it. Like they started out so fucking emotional and brutal. I mean, they had those the two guys who were gay, and one of them literally almost gets beaten to death and thrown into a river to die. And then you have the creature, you know, like here I'll help you, and then fucking eats him. You know, like they start off really messed up, and then they kind of hold that for a little bit, and then they just have moments are just too funny. Like it almost kind of breaks. I feel like the flow of the movie for me. I still enjoyed it, but I mean, that movie was like what, almost 3 hours long. It was like 2 hours and 40 minutes or something like that.
Yeah. Well, and what I've heard is they didn't know if they were going to get a sequel. So they worked as hard as they could to make that first movie a standalone film, which really meant
Oh, okay.
stripping out a lot of that cosmic. Because, like, if anybody's ever read the book is very cosmic in scope. Pennywise is a
Yeah.
Lovecraftian being, like, beyond our comprehension, who is fighting the turtle, who threw up the universe because Stephen King was on cocaine at the time.
Lots of cocaine.
Lots of cocaine. And the turtle is one of the totems, which he would later make important in the Dark Tower. All of that is gone from that first movie. All of it. Which is fine. That first
Well, it's
one
supposed
is
to
a
connect
lovely
multiple
little
things.
movie.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the Dark Towers. Most of my important work is connected now.
Yeah.
And that's fine in that first movie. Nice little horror movie, kind of throwback to the 80s, like everything is now, but, you know. But then they were like, oh shit, we've got to do a sequel. We got to shove all that shit back in.
Yeah, and it's just almost was like too much. Like I feel like they didn't want to make it feel rushed. So then now it's almost a 3 hour movie, but then they just it was just too much in one movie, I think. Especially with it trying to keep its horror and comedy sides at the same time of adding that whole cosmic universe at the you know breaking point.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, when I go see an adaptation, of course I'm looking for a good movie, but I also want a good adaptation.
Yeah.
So it's hard to be harsh on it because I love that they shoved some of that shit in there as fan service. But it also does bloat the movie because I didn't need all those flashbacks. I didn't need and like some of it they just play lip service to. The bike is pointless. The marriage stuff at the beginning is pointless. You could have cut all that stuff out.
It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, they almost added it just to try to, you know, pay homage to things, but it didn't make any sense. They just kind of tossed it in there.
Yeah, like he buys that bike.
There's just almost no reason to do it.
Well, and what really pisses me off is they had everything in set because if you remember in the original book and in the miniseries, the bike he uses to cure his wife who has been left basically immobile but by Pennywise, kind of like the redhead was at the end of it one. And it's supposed to remind him that growing up kind of sucks, but you can always be at least a little childish. Like there's a balance. But they set that up, they set the wife up, and then they do nothing with it.
Yeah, they just let it go. They just kind of moved on from it.
Yeah. And Beverly, that's her name. And she has the abusive husband, which is one of the scariest things in that book. Because he's not just an abuser, he is a controller. He controls everything.
Yeah.
And it makes the same mistake that 90s miniseries did. Oh, he's just abusive. Now forget about him.
I mean, they barely even like kind of touched on it. Like they showed a little bit of it about how abusive he was. But like other than that, like you were saying, he controlled every single aspect of her life. Like he essentially owned her, and I feel like they just didn't touch on that enough. Like they needed to show why she was so afraid, why she had this plan to sneak out in the middle of the night, why she had things set up to sneak out and had a plan where like she was like hiding her or like, you know, like moving cameras, had a backpack, that kind of thing. And they just didn't touch on that enough.
Exactly. If you want a good movie about domestic abuse and how horrifying it is, The Invisible Man. Highly recommend. Best film of 2020.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. I mean, that's why I feel like they did such a good job of her escape. Almost should have been what the It escape should have been. Her trying to
Exactly.
get out. That was a great movie.
Yeah, NXT. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't bother with the Dark Tower movie when I saw that it was an hour and a half action movie. I was like, I'm out. Nope. That is not what you do with that franchise.
Honestly, I was not a big fan of it. I think they tried to, because the original Dark Tower had so much going on, and I feel like they cut out way too many big scenes in it just to appease.
Mainstream audiences.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
and I have heard there is another cut of that movie that leaves a lot of that stuff in. Because I mean, even the first book, which is a simple story about the gunslinger chasing the dark men through the desert, so many just references. Like, if you're not a King fan and you have not read a lot of his major works, you're gonna miss. But if you have, it's like this is connected to this, and this is this, and we're going this place, and yada yada yada. And then they recut it because the test audiences didn't understand that cut. I don't know what exactly was in that cut, but I'm guessing it was better than whatever we got because I still haven't seen that movie.
You need to test it with audiences that understand movies is what they need to do. I feel like they always get like the bare minimum to do something like that, and then they're like, I don't understand this. And they're like, okay, let's cut it and make it as basic as possible so everybody can enjoy this. It's like, well, now you're just ruining it for the people that have actually followed it.
Well, unfortunately, that is one of the downsides to these major studios because they're never going to do that because they need to know that it works for a general audience.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to water down the material, which is also again is very weird to me because I don't feel like the first It movie is very watered down, and that was a huge success.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I don't understand audiences. I guess whatever.
I don't understand people.
Yeah. And I mean, we had a better Stephen King adaptation last year with Doctor Sleep. That's a wonderful movie.
That movie got crapped on pretty hard, but I enjoyed it a lot. I don't understand why people didn't like it very much.
Most of the complaints that I have heard was about the ending because you have an almost impossible job of balancing it being an adaptation of the book, which is a sequel to the book, as well as, well, we got to make this a sequel to that Kubrick movie, which is nothing like the book.
Yeah.
The ending is basically the ending of the Shining novel. It is not an adaptation of the Doctor Sleep book. But that's kind of why I liked it, because I'm not a huge fan of The Shining. Blasphemy, I know, but all atmosphere does nothing for me. I need characters and like story.
That's probably why you didn't really like Midsummer either, because that is very much an atmospheric movie.
Yeah.
It's very much of like you feel how heavy everything is and how claustrophobic like the characters feel or the situation is, and that's also probably why you didn't enjoy that one either.
Now, I will say I don't hate The Shining, mostly because Jack Nicholson, like, he carries that movie on his shoulders. But if I had to pick just one, I would rather watch Doctor Sleep because it feels like both an adaptation of that book and it gives me the important stuff from the Shining novel, which, if you haven't read The Shining, it's one of King's best novels.
Oh, hands down. I would say that and The Stand are two of my favorite Stephen King novels.
Yeah, The Stand. I think The Stand is his magnum opus, so to speak.
Yeah, I would love a new age telling of that story for a movie, especially during quarantine and stuff that we're having to deal with.
Did I not send you the trailer? CBS All Access has one coming out in December.
Yeah, no, you did not, and I did not know that.
I'm
gonna look that up right now.
Yeah, it's got Alexander Skarsgård in it.
Fuck yes, I love him.
I actually have that 90s miniseries on Blu-ray. They released it like last year.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, here we go. The Stand movie official. Wow.
It's like 6
Is it for Shudder?
No, CBS All Access.
Oh, okay.
Haley loves Alexander Skarsgård. I'm sure you do, Haley.
It's crazy how much the Skarsgård family is in Hollywood.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Well, and like their dad is the crazy professor guy in the Thor movies.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Alexander Skarsgård. He was
Yeah.
in True Blood and everything. No wonder she's saying that. Yeah, he is very attractive.
Well, thank you, NXT.
Minus
We
him being,
appreciate
what was it,
that.
fucking Tarzan.
You know, I think I saw
The
that movie, and
Tarzan movie was weird.
I think I liked it, but I can't remember anything except Margot Robbie.
Oh
Because
yeah,
I mean, it's Margot
what an
Robbie.
attractive pair to put into a movie. Like him and Margot Robbie. Jesus.
Well, and you know that is kind of funny though that you mentioned that because it's supposed to be like this jungle man, but it's Alexander Skarsgård. Like,
It was like the least hairy person, like perfectly cut, like just like nothing to him tells me, like makes me think of like Tarzan at
Yeah.
all.
yeah, he was in something
That was
else.
a weird emote.
What is that emote? Oh Lord.
It's like a weird orgasm emote.
Do we need to get the spray bottle out, Haley?
Yeah. Can someone get the hose? We need the hose.
Well, and it's funny because I mean now obviously both brothers have been in a Stephen King adaptation.
That's true, actually. Frick, what's his name? Bill, yeah. Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah.
Him as a horror movie, like I would say monster. I would put the clown from it as a monster.
Yeah.
Just flawless. I mean, just his natural body is very like lanky. I mean, I think the dude's like what 6'6" or something like that, 6'7". Like the dude's huge, and like has like like abnormally long arms. Oh, he's only 6'4". Well, only it's still huge. Abnormally long arms and stuff. It fits so perfectly well for something like it.
Yeah.
Especially because they said that his mouthpiece that he had to wear for like his smile was bigger than his mouth, so he essentially was like drooling like uncontrollably during it, and they're like, no, that's perfect, keep that in the movie. And it actually made the children from the first one like so uncomfortable because he literally would be like, they say he's an actual nice person, like very nice person in real life, so he'd want to like go talk to the kids and stuff, and he would just be drooling from the mouth trying to talk to them, and like was actually be scaring them. So it just fits so well for the movie.
Yeah. Well, and like the scene where he's in the fridge, that's not CGI or stunt doubles or anything. That's actually him because he's a contortionist.
Yeah, like he actually can bend his body that way and like unfold himself. Like it's insane. He's just the perfect person to have played it, I think.
Well, and he's also in Castle Rock on Hulu, which is another like kind of King adaptation, but
Yeah,
not of a specific book.
I actually really enjoyed that. I think they did a really good job with Castle Rock.
Yeah, I haven't seen
I
season
wish
2
that
yet, but I like season 1 quite a bit.
Yeah, I also have not watched season 2 yet.
But yeah,
Sure,
looking here, Alexander Skarsgård's actually got a couple things coming up I want to see. For the kind of horror side, he's going to be in The Northman, which is the next movie by Robert Eggers, who did The Witch and Lighthouse.
Oof, both of those I think were great movies. The Lighthouse is just, honestly, it's funny to me that you say that you like The Lighthouse, because you said you don't really like atmospheric movies, or you don't like really get into them, and that's really what The Lighthouse is. I mean, it's two people in a lighthouse. It's like you feel just how claustrophobic and uncomfortable they are, and that they're at each other's throat after a while.
I'll tell you exactly
Like
what
it's
it
such
is,
an
though.
atmospheric
It's
movie.
just like The Shining, though, except both actors are great, because I watched that movie for Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, they both blew that out of the water. Both great actors.
Whereas
William Dafoe, hands down, will always be one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, no offense to the people in Midsommar, but I found them all as entertaining as watching paint dry. Whereas, I mean, it's Willem Dafoe being crazy. Like, he can't not love Willem Dafoe being crazy.
I will give that to you, other than the main actress. Not a big fan of the other actors that are in it. It kind of is just, to me, none of them stand out in any sort of way. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but like none of them like really captured me. But her like, to me, it almost is like Hereditary. When I don't know, I guess we can just talk about it. It's a podcast about horror movies. Like when like the main actress is like in her room, like figuring out that people are dead and everything, and she's like lost her kids, and she's just screaming and heaving and stuff like that. Which actually it's the same director, so it makes sense. But I feel that same way with the actress from Midsummer, where you just get so emotionally attached to her because you can hear her just emotion in her bawling when she finds out that her family is all dead. I think that is just such it to me, that pulls me into a movie that's what gets me emotionally attached to the actor or the actress at that time.
Well, and see, that was what was interesting with Midsummer. Yeah, Midsummer. I loved the opening. All of that was great, and then they get to the island, and the movie drops to a dead stop for the next 2.5 hours, and I just wanted to beat my head against something.
I'd agree. It gets really slow up until like the actual ending of it, when you start finding out everybody's dead. Like it just kind of like, I feel like they wanted to give you this view into this new world and how weird it is and how uncomfortable people are getting, but I feel like it just kind of slows down. And that I feel like that's really difficult, especially with how quick and heavy the beginning initially is. Like they just throw you into this, they get you emotionally attached, and all this crap is happening, and then it slows down, and people are happy, and they're doing drugs, and all this, and then it's emotional again. It's like I feel like they should have just kept the same pace, and that would have made an amazing movie.
Yeah, well, and I think a big part of that is the length too. My golden rule for a horror movie is 90 minutes. Most movies that are great. We're not going to talk about the plots too much. And Haley, come on, are you ever going to actually watch these movies? Because I mean, they've been out for how long?
I thought we were going to watch Hereditary, but apparently we're watching. Was it The Happening? Like Mark Wahlberg just casually like glaring at everybody for fucking 2 hours.
But I think the other issue with Midsummer is the same thing with it Chapter 2 is it's too fucking long. And apparently there's a director's cut of Midsummer that's even longer, and I'm just like, no, that sounds like actual torture. NXT, we are watching Hereditary, damn it.
All right, maybe we can watch both.
Yeah, maybe we'll just pester Haley to watch both.
Yeah.
But 90 minutes for me is the golden rule in horror movies. Now, obviously, there's exceptions. Our title title movie tonight, Evil Dead 2, is not 90 minutes. I think it drags at certain places, but overall, I think it's like I said, my favorite horror film.
It drags in certain places, but it's in places that need to be explained. They're not. I feel like they're necessary drags, if that makes sense. It slows down so that you can almost keep up with what's happening.
Right. Absolutely.
Oh, Next got Amazon Prime finally?
Yeah. Silent Hill. That movie is also way too long.
Yeah, Silent Hill, I just feel like they went out of their way to add things that didn't need to be in it because they wanted it to be not as close as possible to the movie, but they wanted to add as many monsters from the movie into it. So there were just random moments where they'd just be like, here's this monster from that game that you remember, and then that was it. And there was like a 20-minute scene. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
I watched that movie twice, and I still couldn't tell you what happened in it. And it's weird. I have that with some movies.
It slows. Yeah, it's like it slows down in certain parts to the point that your mind almost just like, all right, I'm going to focus on something else for a second. And then it's like 30 minutes goes by and you're like, oh shit, what happened? Oh no.
Like we watched 30 Days of Night a couple weeks ago, and I was trying my hardest to pay attention to that movie. I still have no idea what happens in big chunks of that movie. I don't know why.
Yeah, some of them it's just like you just can't. It's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. I mean, I forced myself through Jason Goes to Hell more times than I should have, but I still remember most of that movie, God. Unfortunately.
That movie is absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, my God. And
is it Jason Goes to Hell or Manhattan that he has a slug monster in his stomach?
That's Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah, God. And it's like, oh, Jason's not actually the monster. It's actually this weird slug thing that jumps into people's mouths, and now you're a serial killer too. Has nothing to do with Jason at all.
Yeah,
It's too much.
Well, and on that new Scream Factory set, they did new like commentary and interviews with the director. First film out of film school, and he still defends that movie. He thinks he made a brilliant Evil Dead-esque movie, and it's hilarious.
Oh my God, seriously? How are you gonna sit there and fight tooth? At that point, you're just either full of yourself or just you don't want to lie to yourself and admit that you made a shitty movie. I wouldn't say shitty. Okay, there are moments in it that I did enjoy. Like, it's not an overall terrible movie. It's just the premise of it that you're going to take a very solidified slasher killer. Like, people are in their seats in that movie theater to see Jason, and you steal that from them, and you're like, no, actually, it's just this weird fucking slug thing that just bounces around from person to person. Like, then why was Jason always coming back to life? Why is he a giant monster that murders people? Like, it's not the same thing when Betty down the street got it in her, and all of a sudden she's just stabbing people. Like, it's just not the same thing.
Well, and I'm not going to get too far into it because honestly, that's almost a whole episode just the making of that movie. It's fascinating.
True.
But yeah, I mean, he's even gone on record saying he loves Friday the 13th, but he wanted to make an Evil Dead film.
Seriously?
Yeah.
So he wanted to create his own, like, oh geez. Okay. I'm not going to get into it. I could talk about that way too much.
Yeah, like there's so much to cover on that.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, yeah. But I will say Scream Factory did a great job. It looks great. I think if you took the Jason stuff out of there, I would actually have a decent movie, but
I honestly, I would agree with that. I think if it wasn't a Friday the 13th movie and he just made a movie based on that, it could have been a great movie in itself. But to add that into a franchise that is already very solidified made no sense at all.
Yeah, for real. All right, so what I'm going to do real quick here is just take a second and turn to the chat. What horror movies have you guys been watching?
Or interested in watching or want us to talk about?
Yeah, especially want us to talk about. We're probably going to wrap this up at about an hour and a half just because now we're just rambling about whatever. So about 13 minutes.
We're still finding our stride right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm fine with it going off topic just because an hour and a half of one movie can get boring. All right,
definitely.
But yeah, if there's movies that you guys want us to talk about or you're interested in seeing, or last one you watched was Saw, nice.
The original Saw?
Which just had its 16th anniversary.
I will. Did it really? Wow, I didn't realize it was that old. Okay, so the first Saw and the second Saw, I think, are flawless movies. I think they're amazing. The twists in them, the storyline, the kills, everything, I think, are so well put together. And then I hate that. What do they call it? Torture porn?
Yeah.
I think that they just focused on that too much. They lost the reason as to why it became such a good movie was the story. And they were just like, how brutally can we kill people? Or like, what kind of crazy effects could we throw into this? And to me, that ruined the series, especially since they went to make, 7 movies? 8 movies?
8
including Jigsaw?
With 8 now, with 9 on the way.
Yeah, it's too much. Actually, Jigsaw had more of a story to it. I did enjoy that one.
I like Jigsaw quite a bit.
Yeah.
I have a weird relationship with Saw where I know they're not good, but I love them.
Just because of the kills or like the brutality of them?
The kills and just how ridiculous that storyline gets.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing.
He has cancer. He doesn't have cancer.
Well, no, he definitively dies in that third movie.
Yeah.
Those were also the only movies that me and my dad would actually go and see in theaters, so I saw all of them in theaters, starting with 4.
Oh, damn.
So
it was more of a personal thing.
Yeah, that might be the one franchise I have like an emotional connection to.
You have emotions?
I know, right? How fucked is that, though? The one franchise I'm emotionally connected to is a fucking torture porn series.
I know, right? No wonder you're so fucked up. I'm emotionally connected to people getting brutally murdered and tortured. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, and obviously, I'm a big Friday fanboy, but I don't have an emotional connection to that franchise. I just love them.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd agree with that.
so NXT wants to know our opinions on the Wrong Turn movies. I love the first one, and I like 2 or 3. I can never remember which, but it has Henry Rollins in it.
Didn't the first one have Paul Walker
No,
or something like that? Am
it
I thinking of
has
the right one?
it has Eliza Dushku in it though.
Oh God, I love her.
Yeah. And Haley, you're a Buffy person. You remember that Faith from Buffy's in that, right? I
Really?
mean, if you're not crushing on Eliza Dushku, what are you doing with your life?
I know, right? Wrong Turn. Honestly, I'm not sure that I've seen this full series.
I definitely haven't seen all of them. I quit after 3, and they're up to like 7.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know if I know I've seen it, but I think I've saw it as a kid, and I don't fully remember the first one very well. What is that one that I was saying with Paul Walker? Something about a
You're
truck
thinking
driver.
of you're thinking of I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
Joyride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what else Paul Walker was in before he was like Paul Walker, so to speak?
Hmm.
Tammy and the T-Rex.
What's that? What is that?
Oh, you've never? Oh my God, you've never seen?
Tammy and the T-Rex?
Yes, it is. It has been on my list because.
Oh my God. Denise Richards is in it?
Yes, and he plays her boyfriend, who like dies and then has his brain put in a T-Rex body.
Yeah, an animatronic dinosaur. His brain gets put into it, and they stay in love. Oh my God. That is hilarious.
I have to see that.
I know. We need to watch. I'm putting. Is that on Prime?
It's on Shudder right now, I believe.
Oh, it is on Shudder. That is fucking hilarious. Joyride, I did really enjoy.
I still gotta watch Joyride.
Yeah. It gets. I think it's pretty brutal with some of the kills that they have, and they do a good job of making you like almost connect with the people. Like you feel like you're being hunted almost. Like you're like, oh shit, hide, oh shit, get out of there, kind of thing. Yeah. Like given I watched it when I was a teenager, so
well, and I
would
think
never
all
trust
of those
my teenage
movies.
views.
Well, and I know like the Wrong Turn movies have a lot in common with The Hills Have Eyes, kind of same kind of premise.
Yeah,
and I'm a big fan of that Hills Have Eyes remake.
I haven't seen the original Hills Have Eyes. It's something that I do need to watch. But the remake, there's still moments where I'm like haunted by the remake, especially the scene where that poor girl gets like raped and stuff. It's just it makes you so uncomfortable. They do such a good job of making you just extremely uncomfortable, but not going past that breaking point, where it's like, I need to turn this off. They do such like, it's not I spit on your grave uncomfortable. You know what I mean? It's still bad level.
Though. NXT wants to know what I thought of The Thing. One of the best movies ever made. Not my personal favorite, but it is one of the best movies ever made. And it is Stan Winston, I believe, worked on a lot of the effects there. It is his masterpiece.
It's one of those originals that come out that you have to respect. No matter what your views are on horror movies, The Thing is like the original. It's just it's amazing.
It is I don't
think I've heard anybody hate it.
Actually, it is not the original. It is a remake / adaptation of a book called The Thing from Another Planet.
Oh shit! And didn't they make that a long time ago?
It is like a 50s or 60s like
movie. I was gonna say, was it? 51. I was gonna say, isn't it like 49 or 50 or something? Yeah, 51. You are right.
The Thing is technically a remake, but it's not remaking that movie. It's just readapting that book.
Yeah, The Thing from Another World is what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Well,
totally
and
forgot about that.
Carpenter references the original movie in Halloween. I think it's Laurie is watching it on TV.
Yeah, or the kids are. When she's
Yeah,
babysitting the kids and they're watching it and they start getting scared and then they have to like go get her jacket or something and yeah, they
which
end
is
up
wild
moving on.
because he obviously hadn't even thought about remaking that yet.
I was gonna say, I wonder if there's some kind of thing where he just was some kind of thing
I
that
see what you
he
did there.
was just so obsessed with it that he added it to that movie, and then maybe someone's like, "Hey, you want to remake it, or like kind of make your own adaptation?"
Well, and it's interesting as well because you talk about like nobody hates it now. Critical and
Mhm.
box office flop.
Damn, really?
Go look at the reviews.
Did not
They
know that.
were brutal.
Which it's crazy to me that something when it first came out could just be such a flop, but then our like generation is just obsessed with it.
Yeah. Well, and I watched The Faculty last night, and they are obviously, of course, looking at the puppeteers and like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. They're also looking at The Thing. That
Hmm.
scene where they're all sitting in the basement, like they're not sure who to trust, and the only way to tell is to sniff that like homemade coke. That is straight out of The
Yeah,
Thing. That is straight lifted from The Thing, but in The Thing, it's blood test.
that's right. Yeah, because you can never tell. They would just start acting like slightly erratic.
Yeah.
Man, The Faculty was just my classic. Like I don't know what it was, but I was a teenager, or I guess younger than a teenager. I watched that constantly.
I
I
think
literally started
it's
dressing like Josh Hartnett did. Like that's how obsessed I was with the long sleeve under the regular t-shirt.
well,
It was
and
fucking ridiculous.
I'm surprised he never became a bigger star because most of the people in that movie went on to be somewhat big stars.
He made some very questionable choices
Halloween
during
H2O.
his rise. I think yeah, that and including what was it, Pearl Harbor? I think it was that he was in also, and a couple other ones that he was on his rise and made some very questionable calls on his own career that totally just sunk him. And I think he just kind of gave up after that.
Yeah, because I mean, he really
Some
didn't
people
pop back
fight to
up
come back, and
until
I don't think he did.
yeah, because he really didn't pop up again until like 30 Days of Night. He was in the Sin City sequel,
Yeah,
I believe, but I don't think either one of those
yeah.
really set the box office on fire.
No, I
But
don't think so either.
I think the
I mean,
the
30 Days a Night I love, but it did not do very well in theaters.
well, and the Faculty is interesting because it's in that wave of post Scream, Miramax horror films, and it kind of got
Hmm.
lost in the shuffle. But I think it's one of the best ones.
Yeah, like I don't even remember seeing that or it coming out into theaters, The Faculty. I just remember back in the day going to a Blockbuster, seeing that on there and being like, I need to watch this, and just picked it up randomly. And it just became something that I obsessed over.
To answer your question, NXT, because he asks, why do I keep thinking Kurt Russell played in the Thing? Did he? Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He is the star, so to speak. Um,
Like not the main character, but because
well, I
isn't the
mean,
thing essentially the group is the main characters kind of thing?
kind of, but
They don't
he's one
focus just
of
on one person too hard.
slight spoilers for the Thing, but he's one of the two survivors at the end.
Yeah.
The
Which I
other
guess
one
technically
is
makes him the main character.
yeah. Well, the other one is Keith David.
Oh, you gotta love yourself some Keith David.
He's great, and I think that's the youngest I've ever seen him in anything.
What if that's like one of his first movies? Look
I
that up real
wouldn't
fast.
imagine so, because I mean, even then he was in his 30s.
That's true. I think because he has he had to have some kind of uh other
That's
ones. What
probably
was
like
that?
the
The
first
thing
big
was like
thing he
what,
was in.
82?
It was mid 80s. Well, I mean, NXT, there's an argument. I'm not going to spoil it yet because Kyle hasn't seen it, but there's an argument to be made whether or not he lived or died.
I mean, I've seen The Thing. It's just been years since I've seen it.
Oh, you
Yeah, that
literally
was
told me
his.
you
That was
hadn't
his
seen it.
first movie.
Wow.
Yeah, The Thing was his first movie. What was it? I just looked at it. Yeah, 1982. That was his very first movie that he was in. At least that's what Google tells me. Looks like it
Crazy.
was The Thing, and then he went on to do like Platoon and everything else.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're a '90s kid, he was like your childhood. Gargoyles, and uh, I'm sure there's something else I'm not thinking of. Pitch Black is another wonderful movie with him in it.
Okay, I was wrong. The movie right before The Thing he was in, it was 1979. He was in Disco Godfather.
Oh, that sounds brilliant.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Um,
So not much sooner, but yeah. That is funny. Yeah, a retired cop, now nightclub owner known as the Disco Godfather, declares war on drug dealers after his nephew has a bad trip on angel dust. That's funny.
oh my lord. But yeah, NXT with Kurt Russell. That is one of those things where you know how every director has like actors he reuses. Kurt Russell is like
Yeah.
John Carpenter's go-to actor.
Shit, Kurt Russell was a god back in the day. I loved him.
Um,
I mean, yes, he's yeah. Kurt Russell's still alive. He just did
Guardians 2.
a Santa Claus movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say Guardians 2 because that's a much cooler movie, but
Hey, it's the holiday season, all right?
wrong holiday, asshole.
Yeah, well, that's true. You got me there.
But like he did Escape from New York, which I'm not big on, but I know people love. The
Yeah.
Thing, Escape from LA, which everybody hates, which ironically has Bruce Campbell in it. Um,
Tombstone, Backdraft, which is one of my favorite movies ever.
well, I'm just listing movies with him and Carpenter, not every movie he's ever
Oh,
done.
specifically Carpenter. Oh, okay.
He did
Whatever, man.
He did Big Trouble in Little China, which is wonderful.
That is a great movie.
Also, kind of a weird companion to Evil Dead, just because like his character is kind of like Ash from Evil Dead 2 onwards. And that he's kind of a buffoon, but also good at what he does.
Yeah.
And that's something we didn't talk about is Ash evolves through all three movies just because they decide that he's dumber and dumber. But it's luckier and luckier.
I do love that they literally make him like just dumber and dumber through each movie. Like the first movie, he's really not that dumb, kind of figures things out. Second one, he's like a little stupid, but still can kind of fight everybody off, and it just gets worse.
Well, and my personal like explanation for that has always been each movie is closer to his descent to insanity. It's not that he's stupid; it's just that he's gone crazy and doesn't give a shit anymore.
Honestly, that's a great way to explain that. Like with the shit that he has gone through, he's literally just like losing a clutch on his insanity, and just like you can see him losing it.
Yeah, and I mean that comes full circle with Ash vs. Evil Dead, where he's just in denial that he's old now. But yeah, so I think we're gonna wrap up here in a few minutes. But at first, I just want to bring back if there's any movies that chat wants to be discussed on the next episode, just so that we can watch them and do a little research, or any topics that you wanted to see tackle next time. Honestly, I'm having a blast. I really like this podcast so far. So I think we're gonna keep it going. We're gonna upload them all to YouTube as well. Fuck you, Haley. Killer sofa. I think we lost Kyle. Pandemic. I mean, I could. I don't know how much I'd have to say. The platform, I could look into that. But yeah, I mean, we appreciate you guys being here. I don't know what happened to Kyrick. But yeah, I'm gonna get a bot set up for next time so that we can start plugging the YouTube channel as well. I think we might tackle a couple of movies next time and maybe have some different topics. But also, we just kind of like to let the conversation flow. You know?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, I didn't realize that it disconnected me. I literally heard you say, "I don't know what happened to Kyrick," and I thought you were making a joke.
No.
Did not know it disconnected me. All right. I was sitting there laughing and making jokes that whole time in dead silence.
Good job, Kyle.
Yep, there goes me and technology.
So Haley has suggested Killer Sofa and Pandemic so far, so I told her, "Fuck you."
I said the exact same thing. You just didn't hear me. I threw out a solid "fuck you, Haley." But yeah.
NXT wants us to check out the platform, which I think is doable.
Yeah, I would love to have a mix of like classics and newer ones that we can kind of both talk about, so that we're not too focused on one, era or genre too much.
Well, and I also kind of like how we brought like a movie, the main movie, and we talked about that, but we also let the discussion just kind of evolve into whatever. Obviously, some things we want to save for different episodes, like Jason Goes to Hell, because that's a whole episode in itself.
Exactly.
Haley says you should be used to that, Kyle.
Me breaking things and then talking to myself? Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so Haley, you said you watched Making Jokes in Silence, yeah.
Rude
so
ass.
Haley, you said you watched Saw, which you still watch the first Saw, but I know you like the Saw series quite a bit. What's your favorite in the franchise? The original for sure, absolutely. And that also would be an interesting topic, just because it is such a low budget, like smash success.
I feel like sometimes I feel like series kind of lose themselves. Like, I feel like when they make the original, they know that they have to impress people. Like they have to go out of their way to make sure they hit everything correctly and make sure that everybody like loves it. And then I feel like once they get a following, sometimes they can kind of get lazy and lean too heavily on certain aspects of the films, kind of like Saw with their like torture porn stuff. They like knew they had a following, knew that people were going to continue to watch it. So instead of producing really good storylines like the first and the second one really did, they just kind of leaned on the gore and the torture of it, and were like, well, this is what Saw is now, when they could just like mass produce that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's a thing that goes back even to like the slashers, is a lot of the people that talked about making those is each movie had to be bigger, better, have a bigger body count. They ordered reshoots just for kill scenes.
Yeah. 100% agree with that for sure.
And I mean, Saw especially gets just ridiculous because each movie has to have a bigger and better trap, and
plus they had the budget, so fuck it, right?
Yeah, and I think that's part of the problem with. I'm not one of those guys that likes to say technology is bad. Like, I'm not anti CGI and I'm not this or that. But I think that having those tools also makes filmmakers lazy.
Agreed.
All right, NXT, you have a great night. Thank you for hanging out. Always good to see you.
Yeah, we're closing up shot here anyways.
Yeah. But we will look into the platform and Pandemic. I've got some ideas for more classic horror, because that's kind of my forte.
Same.
But also, follow us on Twitter. What's your Twitter name again?
Blame Kyrick.
All right. I should know that by now, but follow us both there. Let us know if you have any movies you want to talk about, or send us news. We also, of course, love talking about news. Next week, because I didn't get to watch it this week, we'll talk about the Halloween trailer. But I think next week we will try to tackle maybe a newer film.
Yeah, maybe we can just kind of mix it up, or we'll have one podcast that kind of talks about the classics, and then we could have one the next week that talks about things that are more relevant to our time. new trailers that came out, new movies like The Platform, stuff like that.
Yeah. So Kyle and I will get together. We'll look into Pandemic, although it's probably not going to happen because it sucked.
God.
But yeah, like I said, I've got some ideas for the classics. Obviously, I want to cover Friday the 13th. We probably won't do like the whole series because that's 12 fucking movies.
Yeah. pick the favorites and then focus on those.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely want to cover Jason Goes to Hell because it's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do Nightmare, of course. I want to do Child's Play. Saw, of course. I mean, Kyle won't have as much to say with that one, but
I would love to do comparisons too, kind of talk about the originals and the remakes, kind of thing.
the only one of those that I don't know if I would want to do, of course, is the Nightmare remake because that Nightmare remake is oof.
I don't want to do that either. I really dislike the Fred or the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
Haley says Halloween and Carrie. Of course, I want to do Halloween. I'd like to do Carrie because I haven't seen that one. Nightmare on Elm Street we just talked about. Of course, Scream. Like Scream, in my opinion, I think is the best slasher movie critically. It's not my favorite again, but I think it is the best one on the critical level.
Very well written, especially the first one.
Yeah, and I mean, we could do a whole episode just on Kevin Williamson in the 90s because Scream was everywhere.
Yeah, seriously.
Haley says, oh, do the birds. Oh, God.
That is something I have never seen, actually.
I don't know anything about Hitchcock.
Yeah, I would have to do some serious research to do the birds.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, if we're going to do a Hitchcock movie, we would do Psycho first. I think. Because that's more of a horror film. Like Psycho or The Birds is just like a thriller, which that line gets really blurry, but
yeah.
But yeah, we appreciate you guys hanging out. I'm gonna download this VOD and put it up on the YouTube channel after this, and hopefully we will see you guys next week with a movie.
Yeah, you guys have a good night.
See ya.